into the go-round of SDH AM. John, here, you there. Hang on just a second. Let me fix our graphics here because of stuff that happens when you're not around. Where is it? There it is. Got to make sure that's up here. Welcome to wow, that was yesterday. Welcome to Thursday Thoughts here on SDH. John, here, you there. Thanks for coming by, as you always do. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've got Open Cup. We've got Champions League, Sudamericana. We've got Libertadores to get into. We've got to get into what happened last night in Major League Soccer. We've got to get into what happened last night in the Open Cup. We've got to set your table for today. So coming up in about 10 minutes, Kacey White is going to join us, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about Major League Soccer. We're going to talk about the SEC, and there's some stuff going on in the NWSL that we need to break down as well. So KCD, we'll find out where she be, and we'll discuss all those things going on in her world and her orbits coming up in about 10 minutes. Then, once again, please, if you do follow Nino Torres on the socials, if you would send all of your love to him. He is with his mom right now, spending time with her, so he is he's got priorities. So he's not going to be with us this week. So if you follow Nino on all the socials, just send your love his way and let him know that you're thinking about him. Hopefully, Nino will be back next week. 10:30, last half hour. It's our buddy Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. We'll break down everything that happened in the midweek in Major League Soccer, get you ready for the weekend. This is where our preview section will start when it comes to MLS. We'll go over what happened with Seattle and Messi and friends in the midweek, and Nico wasn't holding back any punches. We figured that the starting 11s would be rotated, and it was a clunker for Seattle. So we'll get started there, get you ready for the weekend starting at 10:30 or the last half hour of the show. And we've got a hard out at 11:05 because we're catching up with Jose Silva and with Ronan Wynn, I believe, for the weekend. You'll hear that tomorrow on the morning show as a bit of a preview. And then not knowing the length of the pregame show before the Crown Legacy match on Saturday here on the network, you'll either hear it there as well, or you'll just see it Friday here as we break bread on a weekend here on SDH. We do have some other interviews that we have later on in the day, catching up with some friends for our Roots program powered by Nofo Brewing, and those will be drifting in and out of your timelines, and so we'll keep an eye on all of those. So it's really cool interviews that are happening late this morning, early this afternoon, and we're also catching up in Scandinavia for some interviews for the Roots for later programs. So that's this morning. We're also tracking down somebody for opposition research. Hopefully we can do that today, and then that interview will also be in the morning show tomorrow. Evan Weston is calling the match for Apple TV and for MLS, and so Evan is going to be joining us in our Friday 10 a.m. slot to break down everything that Evan has done in study hall getting ready for Atlanta and San Diego. We'll probably discuss what's been going on with the Purple team with Evan, considering that's where his base of operations is, and anything else going on in the Eastern Conference as we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. So that's the grid for today and tomorrow. Today, KCD, Niko Moreno, Champions League, and we've already got some silly season stuff going on in the Premier League. We got to talk about that too. So it's NWSL, SEC, MLS, Champions League, Open Cup, and all of that leading into Nico in the last half hour where we kind of start our weekend, get you ready for everything going on in Major League Soccer. So hi, morning, David. And so it will be a busy show for us today and a busy show for us tomorrow. We're also efforting our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring if they are not conquering the planet and doing all kinds of good. So that's the next 2 days here on SDH and SDH AM. We're getting you ready for the weekend here all over the place. Okay. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There is your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, however you are doing so, large device or small, and video, audio, however you're hanging out with us this morning. So for those of you on the video side of things, you get to see the QR code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hit that QR code, buy out the store. Kick off your day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But when you do buy out the store, you can do it for 15% off because you can use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout, and you get that 15% discount. Our friends at Kickoff Coffee, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, you'll notice a couple of things. So before KCD hops in and joins us here in a handful of minutes, I just want to show you. I want to show you the update. You'll remember how it was basically last week, yesterday, all the things. So you'll notice now, even though the camera is probably a little askew, that everything has been restored to its full upright and safe conditions. You'll notice that the train track here is not resting on the curtains. Handyman came in yesterday and did a fantastic job, a bang-up job of reinforcing and working some other support beams in here. And so we're going to have to paint over the support beams because they're like metal. And so it is now officially official. And you'll notice that the hats have been kind of put up in a different order. Same on this train track as well. But the bottom line is that these things will not be falling down upon me, which is the important aspect of it. I know it would make for great TV if that was to happen. But yesterday, like I said, Handyman came in yesterday, did a bang-up job. And so the hats have kind of been put up in a reorder. They've just been kind of put back up. I don't remember the actual order of how things were when everything was starting to fall down upon itself. So everything has been restored. Everything is fine. And we are back to normal when it comes to the studio space. So thankful for that I won't have anything happening and falling down on my head. So there you go. That's your update there. And you'll also notice that our friends from Decatur Watch Party 2026, they have been added here to the stacks. And so we have the city of Decatur and Decatur Watch Party and the Chamber of Commerce and the CVB. They are making a concerted effort to make Decatur a central viewing point for the cup that the world will be chasing in 2026. They're doing a lot of really cool things. They're renovating the downtown square to make it mucho people friendly. And so they're really looking for the gazebo's been remodeled, and they're doing some things behind the courthouse and things like that. So big thanks to Jen Johns and everybody at Decatur Watch Party as they're getting ready for the cup that the world is chasing after next year. And so they have been added to the stacks. And Jen basically was like, well, where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it? And I said, well, I'm going to try and find a place for it. And so we have officially found a place for it. It is front and center. It is in the front and center position, right off of my left shoulder, or camera right as you would see it. But nevertheless, bottom line is Decatur Watch Party gets the prime position, considering that they are the new ones here on the block. And so if you and your team and your cause of causes, you want to be added to the stacks, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to complain about it one bit. So that's and we just have to figure out how to reinforce what we've reinforced. Because remember, the boss had to come in and reinforce the lines on the curtains because of all the winter scarves that were being positioned here on this particular wing. So hopefully not getting to the point where we have to reinforce what we've reinforced. But anything's possible considering what happened after 9.5 years of the train tracks above my head. So that's Morning Lokeville, opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And this is the QR code for our friends there at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You hit that QR code, you kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But you do it when you buy out the store. Use the code SoccerDownHere15, so you end up saving 15%. So you buy out the store to discount. Then our friends at Kickoff Coffee make sure that they can reinvest, and they take 10% reinvested into the youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, it is that time, but there has to be, I think, a proper introduction. There has to be a proper introduction this week. So you'll remember the last time that KCD was with us, she was prepping for moments in Major League Soccer. Moments like this one, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and MLS.
Kuipers couldn't take that one down. Instead, it's Thiago Martins. Easy pass for Gutierrez to read. Brian Gutierrez. Gutierrez slots. Zinchenko! Goal! The magician strikes first. Chicago Fire lead courtesy of Philip Zinchenko.
starts with defensive structure. Gutierrez puts himself in the passing lane, gets the turnover. There's no hesitation. He goes at speed into the half space. He opens up, finds Zinkernagel, and what a clinical finish to the back post from Philip Zinkernagel. But I love the runs of Kuipers, because if this misses, Kuipers there for the tap-in. He doesn't need it, but the organization above the ball, just wonderful from the Chicago Fire.
It's deja vu for Chicago Fire. Philip Zinkernagel got them started early again.
And so there you go. That's Kacey D and Jess Charman.
I know that voice or voices.
Yeah, I would hope so. It was Harry Potter night. It was Harry Potter night at the spaceship.
I'm telling you, Jessica Charman was like the happiest I've ever seen her when we walked into Soldier Field and it was Harry Potter night. She was like, oh my gosh, I can say so many things on the air. I'm excited. Like, I love Harry Potter. I said, as long as you don't bring me in, I know Harry Potter, but not well enough to think on the fly like that. So I said, just keep it to yourself.
Yes. Yeah, look, Harry Potter, I'm like, sure, okay, great. You know, all I know is like long brown overcoats and hoods and buck and a quarterstaffs, and that's about it. I mean, so yeah, she'd be on her own. It'd be just like, I'll kick back and listen, and you know, I'll hang up and listen. You know, long time listener, first time caller. That's how I would do it.
100%. The only thing I could join in was Quidditch. They were playing like the game at halftime that you play, I guess, in the Harry Potter movies, and that's about all I knew. So that was me.
Right there with you. Chicago right now is a part of the chaos in the Eastern Conference in Major League Soccer. And let me get the numbers of the standings in the sprint here. So it's a couple of different ways of chasing in the East and the West. And so Chicago right now, they're in the 9. They got some work to do. They are, you know, they're 500. They're 5-5-5 on the road, 7-6-1 at home. And it's going to be that 9 is going to be, looks like it's going to be them or Red Bulls right now. But I think Chicago with the match in hand, they've got the inside track. What did you see? What is your recall of Chicago Fire that you're like, yeah, okay. And then, so I guess this is questions and concerns involving Chicago Fire from what you saw.
I think you're right about it being Chicago Red Bulls, because New York City just took themselves out of the conversation in a positive way. I mean, they just flew up to 5th. So I do think you're right. It's about those two teams. Chicago for me was really interesting because that entire game, I never felt like Chicago was playing poorly, but they didn't really have a lot going on from an attacking perspective. Their goal that we just listened to was all off attacking transition, which that's fine. A lot of teams in this league are very comfortable sitting in their defensive structure, attacking with really good attacking threats in moments where opposite teams are expansive. But what they couldn't establish was a really high level of possession that was dangerous. If they possessed, it was around their back. There were no real 10, 15-minute time periods where there was consistent attack. And I think that's what's going to really hurt them, because they aren't a team that's known to not give up goals. So they have to be scoring. They have to outscore opponents because they concede some of the highest number of goals as well. I think they have the tools. I think they have the players to be able to be in the playoffs, but it's putting that 90-minute performance together that has to come for them.
That was very Winston Zeddemore of you from Ghostbusters. We got the tools, we got the talent. Just
look at you pulling out some more references. I like that.
Bang! Nothing like a little caffeine in the morning. So you are prepping for NYC, and NYC is making up the matches in hand that they have. You mentioned they're in 5th. They're a match in hand behind the top 4, and if they continue to keep the pace, let's just say they win, they would be at 16 wins. They would go over Nashville. They would be in the 4. Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and Charlotte are in. We just don't know where. I don't know what study hall has been like for you getting ready for NYC, and I don't know if you watched the match last night from Yankee Stadium, but what's early thoughts for you on NYC as they get ready for the weekend?
So I wasn't able to watch the match last night quite yet, but I did see, obviously, they got the 3-2 win. Mm-hmm. What stands out to me about the last 2 games is 5 different goal scorers for New York City. That's pretty impressive for that group. Yes, one of them was Reed, who got his first goal and very limited playing time. We know that. But still, it speaks to what they're doing with having a lot of different attacking players come through, scoring in some different ways. Hannes Wolf got 2 last night, but he was setting up goals the previous night. Niko gets his first goal. And what I really liked about New York City and what I'll be interested to see, because Charlotte's a different animal that they're coming up against. But what I've liked about them in the game I had, and then what I'm seeing with the goal scoring, is that there is a willingness to work for the hope of scoring goals. Like the first goal by Niko against Chicago, he started the entire play. And if you did listen to the game, I said it about 30 times because I thought it was so impressive. He started the entire play in his own defensive third on the right side. It goes all the way out to the left side on a change of point, and he finishes within the 6-yard box of his attacking third. He covered about 70 to 80 yards. But players that don't believe in what they're doing and don't believe in like the attack and their teammates and that they're going to get returns don't do the unselfish running, because very rarely do you get rewarded for a goal like that and actually get that opportunity to score. So what I like about what they're doing is that they're very organized attacking wise. There's willing runners. There's unselfishness in the way they're playing. And they're continuing to establish possession. Most games, even games they've lost, they have dominated possession. But now they're figuring out how do we turn that into more efficiency in the final third. And that's a scary combination going at this point in the season.
Yeah, and Charlotte has won like 712 in a row.
I think it's 713.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're closer to them geographically than I am, and I know that a lot of folks here down I-85 just view them as low down dirty cheaters. Anyway,
I know.
And so Charlotte's coming in, and Will Zaha, I think it took a little while for his engine to turn over and figure out what is going to happen in Major League Soccer. That yes, he's going to get picked on. Yes, he's going to get fouled. No, it's not going to get called as much as it was when he was with Crystal Palace in the Premier League. They've done a lot of it without Pep BL. Christian Kalina has stood on his head. In other words, it's a day that ends in Y. And it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting mix that seems to have kind of understood what Dean Smith wants to do as they've gotten to full song here getting into this part of the season.
I'm looking forward to speaking with Dean Smith today. We have our call this afternoon. So I'm excited to hear what he really feels is clicking right now, because there's a lot of things going on, like you mentioned. When you have a goalkeeper playing the way that Kalina is and stepping up and making the saves that no one expects of a goalkeeper, not because it's Kalina, because of a goalkeeper in general, he's coming up with saves that really he shouldn't be coming up with. Like, that is always going to give your team a chance. But what I liked.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no. What I was thinking was, excuse me, was more about Zaha. What you brought up with him is, what I'm noticing is, okay, he can score goals. We know that. We've seen that for years, and he can be a flashy player. But now he's really playing the role of facilitator in a lot of ways. He's taking a lot of distraction, and he's playing very unselfish. And it was epitomized by the fact that he gave Toklamati the penalty kick. I was in shock over that when I was watching the game, because I didn't get to watch it live because I was obviously on the call for another game.
Kind of busy.
I was watching that in prep, and I watched the whole thing. He draws the penalty. He's playing well. He hasn't scored a lot recently. He has gotten some goals. So you're thinking a player like that with his pizzazz and his personality is going to step up and go, I'm going to get this goal. And to give that to Toklamati for his hat trick, something's going right in the Charlotte locker room for that to happen, in my opinion. And those are the intangibles that really helped down the stretch.
And you mentioned intangibles, and when you have the confidence that Toklamati has had, it took him a little while to kind of get acclimated to what's going on in Major League Soccer. But right now, Toklamati seems to be the hot hand. And, you know, like in college basketball, you see the guy that is hitting the jumper from outside the three-point arc, and he's on a run. You just keep feeding him. So Zaha's more of a point guard here, and Toklamati seems to be knocking down the threes. And you're seeing the end result offensively for Charlotte. Defensively, I know that a lot of folks were looking at Malanda and how his game has grown, and that's why he's heading to England to continue his work. Tim Ream, who is – see, and I can't make a joke here because of what Charlotte has done defensively. I think Tim's 38, and for him to do what he's doing, but still Dean Smith to be able to protect him in a way where his weaknesses, whether it's fatigue or conditioning or just age in the knees balking at him, he's protecting Tim Ream as well. So it's not just leaving him out there to dry like it has been in years past with folks.
He's only 3 years younger than me, which is crazy. I didn't realize that till you just said that.
I think he's 38. I think he's 30.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. But I think it's a sign of a really good manager that understands the performance environment, understands how to get the best out of players by pairing them with people that they work well with. And so that balance of roster management, that balance of putting out a starting 11 is really important. And then you manage the confidence piece and, hey, here's what we need from you. So defined roles. And, Tim Ream is a player that we know has been around the block and has performed at the highest level. So that's something that as players get older, when a coach can do that, that's really important. But yeah, I think you mentioned Toklamati as well. The way he's scoring, he's definitely like the Steph Curry, like with the fadeaway and not looking away because he knows it's going in. Like that's what I'm like picturing right now. Is just like the look away and he's already back down the court. Like I completely agree with you. It will cool off at some point. It's win, and I hate to say that, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way towards him. That's goal scorers. It's never going to stay at every game and 2 goals a game, 3 goals a game, whatever it may be. But what that does is just more attacking threats for Charlotte and someone feeling comfortable. I mean, he's playing like he's not going to lose the ball either in possession in the middle third. And so he's playing with that confidence and that swagger. And then you've got Zaha who can attack. You've got Bronico. You've got Vargas. You've got all these players. Now BL got a few minutes coming back in. They're soaring. I would be shocked if they don't tie or lose a game at some point before the playoffs. And honestly, if you're one of those, if you're someone within that organization, I've been there, I've been a coach before at a high level, you're kind of hoping that loss comes now. Like you don't want to be surprised in the playoffs, and feel like you're invincible and then something happens in the playoffs. So you want a little bit of adversity, whether it's a loss, a tie, or whatever it may be, to kind of springboard you forward.
Yeah, Tim Ream, by the way, turns 38 October the 5th. So
you aged him.
Yeah, premature aging for a center back. I know that people hate those kinds of things. What would be interesting for me is to find out, and as a coach, you know about this as well, and this is something that it's something that kind of turned the light on for me this year in talking with other coaches, is that when you're winning, you don't want the conversation to be 100% positive. You still want the team to understand that there are things to work on and that you are not perfect. If you are losing, then you want to focus on the positives that happened in a loss, so you're not just dragging yourself down and you're looking like Droopy Dog or Eeyore walking to practice every day. With this run of form that Charlotte has had, I'd love to know what Dean Smith is thinking they still need to work on so they can continue to be more perfect, if that makes any sense.
Well, welcome to my first question to him today, because I want to know that too. I think that is a huge question of what are they still fine-tuning? There are still so many things that as a coach, when you're watching your team, no matter what your result is, your form is never going to be 100% what you want, because you can even pick out one moment and go, we could have been punished here. Even if like everything is great, a coach is going to find that one thing because it's going to keep their team hungry. It's going to keep their team on edge. Hey, guys, if this goes in, I mean, think about it. The penalty kick. Gianni goes a little hard inside the 18 on Messi. Don't blame him. It's Messi at the end of the day. So how do you judge your tackle against the best? But that's a moment that could easily be 1-0. Easily. And Miami at 1-0 just gains confidence. They move the ball more. You're chasing. So I think you use moments like that to say, hey, we recovered. What a save by Kalina. Hey, I understand why you went for the tackle. It happens, but this is how a game can completely change. So let's fine tune that. So I would assume from the psychology of the coach, he's picking those moments because as they go further along, it is going to be closer games to try to win a trophy.
And by the way, the chaos that happened in the Bronx last night, Jess and Jamie were on the call for that, Apple TV Plus and Major League Soccer. So, yeah, this was how it ended.
Ojeda driving forward, charging. Ojeda left, Fernandez! No way!
The no way what sold it for me the entire time.
I love it. It's so raw and authentic. I actually was looking at the highlights this morning of that, and what a wonderful finish, by the way. And Jessica was great on the call and just so passionate. I love it. And Jamie's a good friend of mine as well. And so I love listening to them two together, but an awesome finish, and the timing, obviously very dramatic, which is always fun.
No doubt. So who are you paired with this weekend?
I'm with Jessica again.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's the one.
am.
Okay, so the Wonder Twins are doing that
We're
one.
back.
Okay, just checking. I because you said that you were NYC in Charlotte, so I have to ask who you were paired with. So it's the Wonder Twins in Charlotte for NYC in Charlotte. Okay, couple of things that I wanted to get into in the NWSL, and one of them has to do with it's just going to be a combine now. It's not the draft is like out the door, and we're cool. So it's just going to be a combine now. Is that right?
Yes. And so obviously the draft has been gone now for a little bit, a tad. And basically now they've announced these combines, one youth one and one college one. So like U13 to U17, I believe, and then U18 to or 18 to 22 years old, basically. I don't know if they're actually going to cut that off at 22, or are you going to allow players that are older, maybe from other places that have been overseas. I mean, who knows how they're going to do that. But a combine, get a pipeline going of talent, because obviously you're not necessarily looking for like 13-year-olds by any means, but there have been young players that have come in and contributed in the league right away. And so now it just provides a forum for coaches to be able to watch. And the thing I think about is it like kind of levels the playing field a little bit for that in one spot they can go see talent rather than maybe one club just going off and doing their own thing. So now you can do a bit of both.
And right now, just to recap everybody and let everybody know where the standings are in the NWSL, it is its own friendly bit of chaos. And you look at standings right now, and obviously Kansas City's off and running. And this was, and speaking of Kansas City, I want to ask you this question. Should Shawinga be in the running for the Ballon d'Or because of what she's doing in the NWSL?
100%. We have been notoriously through the years underrepresented in the Ballon d'Or, like from a league perspective. And if it's in a World Cup year, no. If it's in an Olympic year, no. But when it's in a league year in and of itself, we haven't had players, and I believe she 100% should be in the running. What she's done in the NWSL from a pace of scoring and just what she's done in one of the best leagues in the world is unbelievable. So I think it's a bit of a travesty that she's not.
And it was a point that was made, and I'm like, that's a fantastic point. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it or it hadn't been brought up sooner. It was just one of those things. I don't know if it's just because here in the United States, we may sit there and look at the NWSL and take it for granted on the world stage. I don't know, but it's just one of those things where, you're like in the old Western movie and they're having the fight in the bar and the guy hits you with the bottle over the head. And you're like, it was in that moment where you just said you get slapped. You're like, well, damn, that's a great idea. I don't know why that hadn't been brought up before. Like I said,
it's really interesting because there's players with less performance details and variables that are, and I don't believe in football that you can underestimate the intangibles of what perhaps a holding midfielder can bring, or I'm the first person to argue that there's people off the stat sheet that are just as critical at the world level. I definitely believe that. But when you have someone who's as dominant as she is with a team that also wins, I know that's not always the factor, but it also has an impact for the team. And she also performs at the national team level, and she's able to do all those things. So she checks all those boxes. And even in Europe, people know that the NWSL is a top league. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's the top league, because people over there may not believe that. There are a couple top leagues, but she is the top performer in one of the top leagues in the world and isn't in the discussion. So I think that's a big miss on that part.
And right now, 20 matches in, Spirit are 14 points back. That shows you the horizon job that Kansas City has right now. But then at 30 points, you've got basically everybody else. Gotham, Portland, San Diego, and Seattle. And it is down to goal difference right now. 4 teams separated by 7 goals in goal difference to get you from 3 to 6. Orlando's 7th at 29. Racing Louisville's 8th at 26. Courage are on the outside looking in at 25. Houston and Angel City are at 23 with an outside chance to get in at 8. Bay at 18. Stars at 15. Utah at 15 as well. And the other news that came out of the NWSL, they beefed up their media deal. More. CBS, ESPN adds Victory Plus. And so now you're building on that. The new deal starts next year when you get the expansion to Boston and Denver, goes through the 27 season, adding Victory Plus as a 5th platform. Obviously, the numbers haven't been disclosed, but it was a 4-year, $240 million deal when it came in 2023. 4.5, that is better than the 4.5 for 3 that was initially there before that. So everything seems to be humming along right now. You're adding that 5th platform now for the NWSL too.
We love it. It's more accessible. There's more places for it to be. I think this is a really important step for the NWSL because you just want more opportunities to have it in people's faces and people's minds. Like, we are here. This is a high-level product, and we're here to stay. And it's a worthy investment. So, yes, at some point in the future, could it be consolidated? Could it be on, this is where we know women's soccer is, and this is the only network? Great. But until someone comes in with the investment of being able to do that, I love what the NWSL is doing because it's putting it out there to the audience, to more people. It's more opportunities broadcasting, so it's more games to broadcast, which is fun. But I think the consumer seeing that there's this growth, it just gives even more legitimacy to what's going on in women's soccer, and it can't be ignored.
And last thing that I wanted to catch up with you on, you've got Ole Miss and Georgia this Sunday. They both play tonight. It is the standard amount of chaos in the SEC. No real surprise. Everybody's beating up on everybody else. And Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Missouri, and South Carolina all got wins last time out to start their conference play. Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, Vandy, they got draws. Bama, Florida, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas A&M, they all had losses out of the blocks. So how's this? Tennessee runs the table, and they're beating everybody up. And so, of course, guess what happens first time out of the blocks? In conference play, you lose. Welcome back to the ground floor, right?
Oh, it's so crazy how that happens. It's like bringing down to earth. It's going to happen at some point. You just hope it happens at the right point. I just said that about Charlotte FC. Like, you need that to happen when it's not absolutely going to kill you. And so, yes, Tennessee definitely ran into that. Ole Miss, Georgia is a unique matchup in a lot of ways. On paper, Georgia should be the winner. I think it's pretty obvious with the wins they've already gotten, but it is a definite matchup of Ole Miss doesn't give up many goals. Georgia scores a lot of goals. What's got to give? Or is it just 0-0? Well, then I would say Ole Miss wins that battle. So you go into Oxford as Georgia, they have to hit the ground running and going hard because Ole Miss has been really stingy defensively. They haven't proven that they can score a lot of goals. So they're structurally sound and they try to make it hard. That's what they did to Auburn. Auburn massively outshot them. Went up early, and then there was a goalkeeper mistake, and Ole Miss put it in, and they just saw it out. And so they're stingy, but I expect Georgia to go in with some hunger and a lot of attack and really try to take it to them.
All right, so what's the broadcast plans on that one?
So I'm flying. We're in studio this weekend for MLS. So Jess and I are not on site for the New York City Charlotte game. So flying down to Fort Lauderdale, some studio action, and then that is a noon game. I head straight to the airport after to Oxford, Mississippi, and I will be on site flying into Memphis. Football weekend. It's just crazy. It's going to be crazy in Oxford. I can't even get a hotel there. So it's going to be a fun weekend and then back home. So
how did they not give you a hotel in Oxford for a soccer game? Do they not know their priorities here? Just say, look, it's a football
we're
weekend.
Allowed to call through ESPN Travel and book our own travel. So I got my flight and I was like, I'll get a hotel. So I called a week and a half ago and the person's like, there's not anything within 5 miles. That's weird. There's not anything within 10. I go, is there a home football game? So I looked it up. Yes. So I am gonna stay in Memphis. That's where we fly into anyways, just drive to the game. So not a big deal. But football just always getting in the way, you know?
I know. And then, so you got a rental car though, right?
I do. I do. So this one's an interesting travel weekend. Definitely like doing a triangle situation to get both games in. But I'm excited. I've never been to Oxford.
Ooh.
So I am very excited to go because I know it's just such a like small college campus town. I really want to see it and see how it is.
The Grove will be an experience. We'll put it for you that
I'm
way.
excited. I'm excited.
If you're going for the college football part of it, go to the Grove. It is a party atmosphere like no other.
I wish I will be on air for MLS when they're having their football game in the Grove. I don't
Well,
go.
but you will still see when you wander onto campus for that game at 2:00 in the afternoon. When you get there, like I guess about 11 in the morning Eastern time.
Yeah.
You'll still see people who are trying to recover from the college football game in the Grove on Sunday morning when you wander into campus. You will see.
I love that. I'm so glad to hear that.
you will see folks in the Grove on Sunday morning who wish they might be in places of higher worship instead of trying to sit there and figure out where their right shoe is.
Oh, college football. What a
Mhm.
time. What a time. Yeah, it'll be great. I might have to get there early just for that for some people watching. So I might actually up my plans a little bit and get there even earlier on Sunday. We'll see.
And get a good Oxford breakfast as well. KCD, so we're going to see you on Tuesday. Are we back to Tuesday next week?
We're back to Tuesday.
All right, so you'll bat leadoff on Tuesday. Just be safe, have fun. The Wonder Twins calling NYC in Charlotte, and then KCD travels to Oxford to see Georgia and Ole Miss. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for bringing your expertise across all the board. And just go spend time with the four-legged friends, and we'll catch up with you on Tuesday.
He's right here. I'm about to do it.
All right, be safe.
Bye.
All right, there goes Casey. KCD, where she be? She be at home and until she's not. But yeah, the Wonder Twins are calling NYC in Charlotte on the weekend. So that one is going to be at the bank. She's got her conference call with Dean Smith coming up in a bit. And then, we'll find out where everybody just gets Pascal, because I don't know if you saw that photo or not, posted on their social media last night, NYCFC. After the win, Pascal Janssen goes like this. So you've been Pascal, just a quick little raspberry from Pascal Janssen after the win last night, 3-2 over Columbus, by the way. And so, yes, Jess and Jamie had that call. The Wonder Twins are going to have NYC in Charlotte on the weekend, and KCD is off and running, and she'll be back on Tuesday at 9:15 to break everything down there. Okay, as always, great to catch up with KCD and find out what in the wide world of sports is going on with her. And once again, reminder, in about 45 minutes, last half hour of the show, we're going to catch up with Niko Moreno and our friend from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart, and we'll find out what else is going on in his planet and his orbit and all of the things. Since we are in Major League Soccer, and we'll discuss Open Cup in a second, the other matchup last night in MLS, if you had Yeon-Min Son in your fantasy league, that's what we refer to as a good pickup, because I did not. Full disclosure, I had Denny Bouanga. I figured Denny Bouanga would be a safe play over the two games on a multi-match week, that kind of a thing. Yeon-Min Son wasted no time in scoring in the third, the 16th, and then again in the 82nd. So it was LAFC with a 2-0 lead at the break. Then you had Gozo scoring in the 76th. Son gets his hat trick in the 82nd to get it back to 3-1. Bouanga scores in the 88th, and then Olatunji with a red at 90+3. So he will not be available for the reverse fixture coming up this weekend. Yeon-Min Son, a hat trick. I think he's adapting well to life in Major League Soccer. Stats on the night. Well, actually, let's go to the lineups first just to kind of let you know what's going on with the layout. It was Bouanga, Son, and Tillman up top. Choinière, Delgado, and Segura, your midfield three. Left to right at the back, Hollingshead, Nkosi Tafari, Ryan Porteous, and Sergi Palencia with Hugo Lloris in net. So that was your 4-3-3. For RSL, Cabral in net, Catranis, Vera, Justin Gladden, DeAndre Yedlin, your back four. Midfield four, Diego Luna, Ojeda, Anelli, and Gozo. And then you had Olatunji and Cruz. And not having Victor Olatunji for the reverse fixture means that you got to figure out what you want to do up top. So that was your starting lineups last night, your stats on the night. Possession 60-40 for RSL. Of course, when you've got a lead, I don't think necessarily the LAFC really gives a rat. Shots 20-10 RSL over LAFC. But once again, if you're clinical twice in the first 16 minutes, you're chasing, you're going to have to do that. Shots on target. Now, here's the difference. 20 shots for RSL, 10 for LAFC. 6 shots on target for LAFC, 4 of them going into the back of the net. 4 shots on target of the 20 for RSL. 8 blocks for RSL on the night as well. Passing accuracy, 87% for RSL, 83 for LAFC. 14 corners on the night, 12 of them to RSL. 16 crosses on the night, 12 of them to RSL. And it was 3 offside on the night, 2 to LAFC. XG was to RSL considering all the shots that they took. 2.7 to 1.4. 3 saves for Lloris and 2 for Cabral. Clearances on the night. And once again, if you're chasing, you're going to have your defense, if you're the team in the lead, have to do this kind of work. 27 clearances on the night for LAFC compared to 4 for RSL. 29 fouls called on the night, 16 for RSL, 13 for LAFC. 4 yellows and the red card to Olatunji. So shots on target, 6-4. Shots off target, 5-2 to RSL. And you had the block shot that we talked about. So in the 5-minute intervals, you look at possession, and I have no earthly clue how to frickin' read that. I really don't. So that's an interesting graphic that our friends at MLS have added, and I don't know how to read it. So there you go. 20-10 in shots, and the biggest thing, 20-10 in shots, and the 10 shots, 6 on target for LAFC. So with the West, and like I said, we'll get into this a little bit more in depth with Niko when he drops by in the last half hour. LAFC with the win. They still have 2 matches in hand on folks above them in the standings, but they're still in that lead pack. They can't quite catch up to San Diego if they keep the beat, and they can't quite catch up to Minnesota if they keep the beat. So right now, LAFC might be just chasing after a 3 or a 4 just to get that opening round home match in the home series advantage in the playoffs. Vancouver, 5 points away from LAFC, 2 points away from Minnesota, 4 points away from San Diego, 2 matches in hand. So if Vancouver takes care of business, they could be the number 1 seed. Remember when we thought that Vancouver was going to be the number 1 seed and everybody else was just going to be kind of like, yeah, whatever? And then Vancouver came back to the pack. Now we're to that point once again that they've gotten all of that schedule compression pretty much behind them, except for these couple of matches down the stretch. And they've got the opportunity, if they take care of business, to be the number 1 seed all over again. Ain't life a circle instead of a straight line? So right now you're looking at that in the top 4. With the loss, RSL is at 34 points, match in hand. San Jose is at 35. Dallas also at 34 points, match in hand, but they also have they have a better goal difference, but they also have 2 less wins, comparing them to RSL. So that's where they are right now, involving the Western Conference. Like I said, we'll get into the West and in the East and cliffhanger and all the things with Niko coming up in just a little bit, and we'll break all of that down for you as well. So also, let me get into the other promos before we get into Champions League and Libertadores and Sudamericana and Open Cup and all the things. So you can become a Fanatico, group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. And let me dial up my Chant app here really quickly. And you can be a part of a larger conversation with our friends here at SDH. What do you do for $10 a year? Well, what you can do for $10 a year is be a part of our Soccer for Good program. Over here on the Chant app, you can have conversations with fellow fans and fellow SDHers here as well. And you get, when you become a Fanatico, you get a lot of great discounts from a lot of really cool places here in the northern half of the state. We're adding more as we go. You've got a lot of breweries on here. Tires Plus is on here from one location. Lloyd's Soccer Shop is on here from one location when it comes to buying Atlanta United gear. You've got Chateau Arenal in San Ramon, Costa Rica. If you want to go to a resort, you're a Fanatico, you get a code for a percentage off of your visit. So if you want to go see CONCACAF Champions Cup, you want to go see the Hemispheric Extravaganza, you can do exactly that by being a Fanatico. Group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. Group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. Did I type it correctly? Let's find out if I did. It looks like I did. I don't believe it. There you go. Be a Fanatico. here at SDH, and you can get some really cool discounts, and you help out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025. Also, a way to do it is to go to Olive & York and get the SDH jersey, and it is thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente across the front. Beyond Goals on one side, and it is Soccer for Good on the other sleeve. Don't forget, you can see what the pictures look like with our friends Greg Garza and Maddie and Sophia modeling blue steel pose on the Instagram. You can get your personalization either in white letters and numerals or in the second blue, Carolina blue, Columbia blue, whatever you want to call it. So a lighter blue for a dark blue, a navy jersey. I've been corrected. Navy jersey. And so it is a navy jersey, personalization either in white with the letters and numerals or in a second lighter blue. Get that at Olive & York, and that helps out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025. Also, Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Soccer is just better in Atlanta. The gold embossed T-shirts and sweatshirts, red or black from Grady Baby. And you have the sweatshirts, you have the SDH Network logo on one sleeve, the Grady Baby logo on the other sleeve. That helps out. The proceeds from that, a part of our Soccer for Good campaign, helps out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. And so very, very cool stuff there from our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Also, you can be a part of the Soccer for Good campaign in a bunch of different ways that we will let you know about all throughout the year. Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And we see what our friends at Fanatis are doing. They are live this morning doing the morning talk shows. They don't quite have, and the news programs, they don't quite have matches up yet. But if you were to dial into Fanatis, you'd get all the be-ins, which means that you get the chance to take a peek at Libertadores, Sudamericana, everything AFCON, the Polish league, the French league. There's a lot of different leagues that they have added to their stacks. You get also, it is like Canal 4, Tigo Sports, CA Sports. It is out of control what you're getting sometimes. Super Football is on right now on TIC. So you get TIC, Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro, BN, all the BNs in English and Spanish. Gold TV with our friend Nino Torres. And you can get that English and Spanish as well. TVV has been added. Also, it's Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro. It's like CDO, Nuestra Tele, for the fans, all the things at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, continuing to add matches and countries and competitions and everything into your stacks as well when it comes to tracking down the beautiful game. And you can also follow along in South America, like on Liga 1 Max. You can catch Sporting Cristal and see what Luis Abram is up to. You can watch the LPF and see what Santi Sosa is up to at Racing. You can see what's going on with LGP in the Argentine league. So go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You can get all the things there, and you can continue to add more streaming services to your list of streaming services that you already have at the house. So that is all-encompassing when it comes to adding to everything else that you have. I swear I've got like a dozen streaming services. Everything from like One Soccer and Fanatis to Paramount Plus and Netflix and Prime. And I'm still trying to figure out when it's going to be and when I'm going to be able to watch F1 the movie and not have to pay like $15 just to rent it. That's my biggest thing. I mean, yes, that people have chopped it up and they've shown various and sundry pieces of it all on YouTube, but the whole thing, the whole 2 hours and 35 minutes, I want to watch it and I don't want to have to pay like either $15 or $25 to either own it or rent it. I'm waiting for that time. When they said, yeah, it's going to be on digital. Yeah, okay, it's on digital, but I still have to pay for it on Prime. So I'm still stuck in that mode right now, waiting for it to go to a free selection, and maybe that happens in like a year or two. I don't know. All right, so let me see. Did I miss anything in the promotions? It is Being a Fanatico. It is Kickoff Coffee. It is Olive & York. It is Grady Baby. I think that's it for promotions and things and getting your day squared away with all the things. All right, now, last night Open Cup. And we now know who Nashville is going to travel to gain the possibility of an Open Cup title here in 2025. Took longer than 90 minutes to figure it out. Took longer than 105 minutes to figure it out. And it almost took 120 minutes and more than that to figure it out. But we go to the 119th minute, courtesy of U.S. Soccer, CBS Sports Network. Austin and Minnesota tied at 1 at Q2, and then this happened at the death. Chris Whittingham, Tony Miola on the call.
Austin might have taken penalties before this game started, but it's a good ball for Gallagher. Final chance. Lifted into that area. Uzuni's header! Save from St. Clair! Fondre volleys in! There's your unlikely hero! CJ Fondre with his second career goal, and it sends Austin FC to the Open Cup final!
CJ Fondre, I did not have him in fantasy or the bingo card or whatever. 120th minute, like literally 40 seconds before the buzzer. Pereira scored to equalize. Bukhari scores in the first half at 45+4. Pereira scores to equalize in the 67th, and they went for a while. It literally was going to 90, going to 105, and you could tell it was getting cagey and folks were tired, and each coach had burned their sixth sub, the whole thing. And so CJ Fondre camped out after the rebound kicked back out by Dane St. Clair. Fondre, the latest goal in Austin FC history, no surprise. Fondre's second career goal gets them into an Open Cup final where they will host Nashville SC in the battle for country music supremacy. It's like Austin City Limits and the Ryman. This competition, I mean, could you imagine, say, if Austin FC goes into the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, what that experience would be like having the Minister of Culture as a part of that? Could you imagine, say, Saprissa? If you had Saprissa taking on Austin FC, if Austin FC was to make it into CONCACAF, could you imagine the MOC at the Monsters cage? Could you imagine him at Herediano? Could you imagine the MOC at Alajuelense, the National Soccer Stadium in San Jose, Costa Rica, somewhere in Guatemala City, Austin and Alianza? You know the MOC would take that road trip. But coming up, the battle of country and Western music. Austin FC, Austin City Limits, the Ryman, the Grand Ole, and the Ryman and Nashville SC. And don't think that that won't show up on social media either. You get that coming up for your final in U.S. Open Cup. Crazy, 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 crazy. CJ Fondre, I did not have. I legitimately. So let's take a peek. I'm intrigued. I am now intrigued. So CJ Fondre, and we might do the Wikipedia bit and try to figure out what it looks like for him. So started out with Stuver, and it's a 3-4-2-1, which really could be a 5-3-2 or whatever. Cascante, Brandon Heinzike, and Djordjevic. Yeah, Maciej Djordjevic. Midfield 4, Kolmanic, Pereira, Sanchez, Ilie, and Mikel Dessler. Then Owen Wolf, Bukhari, and Uzuni. At least we didn't have to worry about own goal scoring in this opportunity. So your subs, Gallagher, Diego Rubio, Cleveland, Stephen Cleveland, your second keeper, Fondre, Guilherme Biro, Svatok, and Sabovic. Literally, he has never started a match in his time at Austin. Substitute, 16 minutes. Substitute, 18 minutes. Substitute, 22 minutes. Substitute, 6. On the bench, played 4, played 1, didn't play. Played a minute, didn't play. Substitute for 10, didn't play. Substitute for 12 in the Open Cup. And then he played a minute. So basically, CJ Fondre comes in for cups of coffee, and that's about it. So he ends up he gets the game-winning goal for Austin FC, but that's what the tournament's about. That's what makes these tournaments great. You get these unlikely heroes. That's what postseason's all about. Postseason's all about moments like that. And so CJ Fodre gets your game-winning goal for Austin FC, sending them to hosting the Open Cup final, and we will catch up on that as we get closer to it, but it's going to be interesting with those two. Welcome to hour number 2 here on SDH AM. John here, you there. It's Thursday Thoughts. Once again, Niko Moreno joining us bottom of the hour to talk about everything Major League Soccer, Open Cup, whatever else is on his mind. We got to get into Champions League. We've got to get into AM news. We've got to get into Libertadores and Sudamericana, all the things. So yesterday, and we got to get you ready for the day as well. So yesterday in Champions League, you know, it had its moments. And there were a couple of matches that were part of our focus. Liverpool was one of them, and it did not disappoint. And there were a couple of other matches that were there, part of it as well, that did not disappoint when you were thinking about, okay, so this is Champions League. And I know a lot of folks are still trying to get adjusted to the idea of the league phase aspect of it. And you had yesterday in Champions League, and we do have action that has already started, by the way, in and around the planet. Yesterday, no, I don't want outrights. I want results. I just want results. Yesterday in Champions League, Inter over Ajax 2-0. They were favored at a -143. Bayern took care of business against Chelsea. Harry Kane scored 3-1 final at Bayern at a -133. Liverpool and Atleti. Liverpool wins at 3-2. We'll get into the details of the after party in a bit. And there was a lot of heated stuff going on when the match ended. Liverpool wins 3-2 in a crazy match against Atleti. Liverpool scores 2 goals in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And you're thinking, okay, this was not what I'd anticipated. But you end up with Liverpool getting a 2-0 lead, Atleti fighting all the way back, and then a late goal by Liverpool to get the 3-2 win in league phase. PSG, no problem with Atalanta at a big favorite, 4-0 to -244. Olympiacos and Paphos, they drew, goalless draw to +376. Slavia Prague and Bodo Glimt, they had a draw. So it's a solid road point for Bodo Glimt, who were a +278. Draw was a +289. So that sets us up for today and what to look at for 2 matches at 12:45. Club Bruges and Monaco. Bruges favored at a +140 at home. Monaco a +184. Draw is a +254. FC Copenhagen hosting Bayer Leverkusen. They are a dog at home at a +200, basically. Draws a +230, and Bayer Leverkusen is a +140. Then your 3 o'clock matchups. Eintracht Frankfurt, Galatasaray. Eintracht Frankfurt favored at home at a +122. Galatasaray favored at a +192. Draws a +280. Manchester City, big favorite at home, hosting Napoli at a -152. Napoli is a +405. Draws a +297. Newcastle and Barcelona. Newcastle, I think, is trying to get past the idea of just we're happy to be here, but Barcelona is coming to St. Mary's. Newcastle is a slight favorite at a +152. Barcelona a +160. Your draws a +263. And then Sporting hosting our friends from Azerbaijan, Kairat Almaty. Sporting a -111, draws a +975, and Kairat Almaty to win is a +2454. Now, getting into what happened yesterday after the match and things like that. So, quoting Joe, and this is the Joe Brophy article at TalkSport. And you know that in Champions League, you're going to have fans who have great seats, and they're going to sit there. And once again, as we've always mentioned from our friend Roy Kent at AFC Richmond, just because you buy a ticket, some people think that you can do whatever the issue want. Apparently, like I said, this is reported from our friends at TalkSport. The Liverpool fan who was involved in the incident which saw Diego Simeone sent off at Anfield has given his side of the story. Shown a red card in the aftermath of Van Dijk's injury time-winning goal that downed Atleti 3-2. Simeone left apoplectic during the wild scenes that followed Van Dijk's header, which made it 3-2 late. And you could then tell as Simeone was returning to his bench, He had to be restrained almost like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. Marcus Llorente equalized less than 10 minutes to go. Simeone was going at with it. He's going at it with home fans behind his dugout. Atleti boss captured by TV cameras being held back by stewards in vests before he was sent down the tunnel. Drama didn't stop at full time. Simeone calling on Liverpool to issue consequences, in quotation marks, for the fan involved in his press conference. He said, quote, "Let's talk about what refers to me. We're in a place where we don't have a right to reply or react, do we? It's never very good when we react as managers, is it? We are the people on the stage out there and need to behave well. But if there are comments against racism or insults, we can get angry and fight back as well, managers, from the place that we are to how we are getting insulted all of the game. When they scored the third goal, he turned around and insulted me when I turned around. I'm a person and I'm human." Simeone adds, quote, I'm not going to get into the exact nature of the insults. I don't want to get involved with that. I don't want that discussion. I've got to stay in my place. I know what went on behind the manager's bench. I can't solve society's problems in one press conference. I've got to live with it because it exists all over the place all the time. The fan in the stands was tracked down, and he also accused a member of the Atleti coaching staff of spitting at him. During a video on X, Reds supporter Johnny Poulter said, quote, "Something I want to get off my chest here with regards to what happened last night with Simeone. I think he's a bit of a coward." I'm going to stop right there. This is the first time I have read this copy. I do not think, Johnny Poulter, that you want to call Diego Simeone a coward. I don't think that's a wise move. My follow-up to Johnny Poulter, who is at Johnny, JONNYPLFC6 on the 280-character app. If Johnny Poulter had a situation where he was once again in a position to explain his point of view to Diego Simeone, and he used those exact words again, it would take far more stewards than it did to restrain Diego Simeone from Johnny Poulter in the first place to restrain him a second time. I continue with Johnny Poulter's quote. When he went in and did his press conference after the game, the Spanish media asked what was said, whether it was racist regarding the Falklands War and all this rubbish. There was nothing racist said by me or anyone else. There was no mention of the Falklands War by me or anyone else. But the fact he was asked about it and didn't answer the question, just got up and walked out, has left it open for speculation across the world. I've had messages on every platform. I don't know how many asking, what'd you say, what'd you say? I never said anything apart from AF off. And then showing him who's number one, as you do. But that's what he did to us when they scored the equalizer. His assistant manager was giving it A in front of us, and obviously he was getting called an ish house and whatever else. And his assistant manager, who came over and spat at me, yeah. And then after the dismissal, once again, Liverpool gets victory in the Champions League opener, 5 wins from 5, retained Premier League champions record, scoring the winning goal in the final 10 minutes of their matches. Arne Slot has left it late to beat Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal, Burnley, and now Atletico de Madrid. So the Liverpool fan who was in the front row, and like I said, truth might be somewhere, is probably somewhere in the middle. He is denying that he said anything, and he is also saying on social media that one of the assistant coaches said stuff to him. But the last thing I think that you want to be, Johnny Poulter, is calling Diego Simeone a coward. Because in press conference situations, if you are a coach, there are things you should say and things that you shouldn't, and things that should be just left alone, maybe to be brought up later. But the last thing I think you want to do is call Diego Simeone a coward for not saying anything and everything in a press conference situation. That's just me. I don't think a squaring off between those two would go very well. I don't think that would go very well. Now, a couple of other things having to go with what is going on in England. And I don't quite have the voice for it this morning. I also don't have the pipes that Nick and Jason do when it comes to a couple of things. West Ham is not off to a good start. This we know. West Ham has had a rough couple of years, and this season has been no different. Right now in the Premier League, out of the blocks, after the first match, Graham Potter got the dreaded vote of confidence. And so now they are in the relegation zone after the first 4. Villa's in the relegation zone as well. They've drawn 2 of their first 4, and that's it. Wolves, after signing apparently Vitor Pereira, their head coach, to a new 3-year deal, they are last. They are sticking with Pereira. They've only scored 2 goals in the first 4 matches. They've given up 9. They're at the bottom. West Ham, in the relegation zone, on goal difference, they've lost 3 of 4. It is to a point where now, according to Alex Crook and Connor Andrews, that if Graham Potter is fired at West Ham, Slaven Bilic is a contender. Slaven Bilic is a contender to return to West Ham if Graham Potter is dismissed. Graham Potter has won 6 in 23. That includes this year. 6 wins in 23 matches at West Ham. Beginning of the year, got the dreaded vote of confidence. And it appears, according to Crook and Andrews, Slaven Bilic might be lined up to be a contender to be the caretaker manager, or perhaps even the newly minted manager, if Graham Potter is sacked. Owner David Sullivan considering turning to Bilic. It would be a popular appointment. TalkSport also understands that Nuno and Sean Dyche have also been discussed. Potter hired January 9 after the gig at Chelsea. 9 defeats, 5 wins, 5 draws. Summer spend of £125 million. Lost 3-0 to Sunderland, 5-1 to Chelsea, 2-1, and then a collapse against Wolves from 2-1 up. Bilic joined TalkSport after their EFL Cup loss to Wolves, spoke about the pressures. Quote, "It's not easy, but there are clubs where it's even more difficult. And to be fair, West Ham is one of those clubs. Not the biggest club, of course, but a very popular club, kind of a special club. Fans are very demanding. The media, whole environment around West Ham is very demanding. So what I'm trying to say, West Ham is one of those clubs. Very quickly you can get in that trouble zone, and it's only after 3 games. Suddenly you're in the trouble zone, and unless you know the club, unless you know the situation, unless you're strong with a clear plan, it's not easy to get out of there. Now, with West Ham, a lot of people, including me, we say it's only three games. But you have a feeling that it's like 15 games at West Ham now. When pressed on whether he fears for Potter, Bilic said not that much. He, meaning David Sullivan, sacked me in the start of my 3rd year. I think from my point of view and objectively, I had a really good couple of seasons. But he's not one who likes to sack managers. Likes to give them time, but on the other hand, I'm not saying that it's a panic zone, but it's difficult not to get into that kind of environment that's completely negative. He was my chairman. He likes to talk to you. You speak to him on a weekly basis, likes to give you time, give you confidence, give you credit. Nowadays, everywhere, especially West Ham, it's not easy. It's very difficult to stay calm. When asked whether things got bitter between the two of them, Bilic said, no, it didn't. Based on your 2 sentences, yes, but we had hundreds of conversations. Now on very good terms. Of course, I wasn't happy. And of course, I think now even then I didn't deserve to be sacked. For a couple of seasons, we were extremely successful. Last season in Upton Park, and don't forget, make no mistake how difficult it is to move stadiums, especially to go from Upton Park to the Olympic Stadium. It's a big arena. It's not easy to do. West Ham is the proof, and the proof is afterwards. West Ham needed a few seasons to get used to it. Potter is now the betting favorite to become the next Premier League manager to lose his job. Bilic was a rare high during David Sullivan's tenure, finishing 7th and 11th. Dimitri Payet had goals at the time. The win rate for West Ham managers, Graham Potter at 25%, Lopetegui at just under 32%, David Moyes at 43%, Pellegrini at 37.5%, so basically 3 out of every 8. Slaven Bilic slightly higher than that at 37.8%. David Moyes, the only man to have matched Bilic's success since recording 6th and 7th place finishes in 21 and 22. Extraordinary highs in Europe, Europa League in 22, winning Conference League a year later, West Ham's first major honor since 1980. Moyes left at the end of 23-24 amid complaints about league form and his style of football. Lopetegui just lasted 22 games, departing with a record of 10 losses, 7 wins, and 5 draws in all comps. So Slaven Bilic might be coming back. Might be. Keep an eye on that. And so now, and believe it or not, before the whole thing with Jose Mourinho and Benfica, there was even a discussion about possibly, and this is, once again, it's discussions, and you know the background plans and everything. Fabrizio Romano yesterday, after we got off the air, Mourinho to Benfica, gave it a here we go, verbal until June of 27. Accepted the proposal, formal steps will follow, 2-year contract ready, and his first match would be this weekend on the 20th anniversary of his first match as head coach at Benfica. Once again, we mentioned how life is a circle and not a straight line. 3 hours ago, according to Romano, he signed the contract until June of 27. Verbal was revealed overnight. Sky has video of Mourinho arriving at Benfica, and I'm guessing steering wheel on the left-hand side, and he's having to roll down his window to explain who he is to the security at Benfica, or as it says on the backs of their golf shirts, Segurança. And it looks like he's driving a Ferrari. So 44 minutes ago, outside Benfica's offices, Mourinho drives up, introduces himself to the 2 security guys, and then gets to drive in. So Mourinho's there. And now he's in at Benfica. So knocks Fenerbahce out of the UCL, sending Benfica through, gets sacked by Fenerbahce, pockets €9 million, joins Benfica and plays in the Champions League. Now remember, this is the chain of events involving Jose Mourinho and what went down. He wanted to sign Kerem Aktürkoğlu in the summer. Aktürkoğlu was at Benfica. Benfica knocks Fenerbahce out of the Champions League qualifying rounds with a goal from Aktürkoğlu. Fenerbahce fires Mourinho. Then Fenerbahce 2 days later signed Aktürkoğlu. Benfica has a 1:20 a.m. press conference after losing to Karabag. And remember, they had a 2-0 lead on Karabag. Karabag came back to win at 3-2. 1:20 in the morning, they have a press conference, they meaning Benfica, to announce that they sacked Bruno Lage. And the fact that if you watch the end of that match, and after the match, you see Bruno Lage and the players from Benfica out in the middle of the yard, and they're having a bit of a come together. I don't know if another individual was involved, if they were having a coming to, but they were getting yelled, jeered, whistled, the whole thing. So Benfica holds a 1:20 in the morning press conference after the match ended. What, like 11 local time, I think. 2:45, 3, 5. So yeah, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 o'clock. Match ends. You get your post game. You get that done. 1:20 in the morning, Benfica has a press conference saying they sacked Bruno Lage. Now they bring Mourinho in, who they got fired from his last gig. You following all that? Benfica brings back someone that they got fired, who wanted a player from Benfica at his old gig. And after he was sacked from his old gig, the team that he got sacked from got the player that he wanted and they're bringing him in. And the team that got him sacked wants him to come back and coach. That's where we are. That is where we are with Jose Mourinho and Benfica. And literally there were some folks that were sitting there saying, you know what? Maybe if no one wants him, then Manchester United could bring him back. Scott Minto believes that Mourinho could have been the guy that turned United's fortunes around if they had sacked Amorim and wanted to bring in Mourinho, but Benfica beat him to the punch. Man. And in the lower divisions, you had a manager get sacked and name an instant replacement after they sacked their manager in less than 60 words. 60 words or less, you sack a manager. First League One manager to get sacked this year is at Wickham. 7 months, 19th place, out of the drop zone on goal difference. Basically, the team in a statement said that, yeah, we parted company with him and the first team coach, reluctantly taking the position, and then you turn around and you announce who it was. So basically, it was 4 sentences, 58 words. You sack a dude, then you're bringing somebody back in. So you got the new guy, we're announcing him, and you end up with the new guy, you sack the old guy, and you said it all in 58 words. Speaking of Champions League, I don't know if you know this, and this was, let's see, so what time is it? 11 minutes ago. The AS Monaco squad found themselves, and this is quoting our friends at Talk Sport, in an utterly bizarre situation ahead of the Champions League opener. After their flight to Belgium to take on Bruges was grounded, the players were forced to exit the plane barely clothed. Flying to Belgium, first European game of the season, which takes place at 5:45 Thursday. So that would be -5. So they're one of the two 12:45s today. Flight forced to land due to technical issues. Yep, Catalucci, it was Wickham, the chair boys. Flight had issues, forced to land due to a technical issue. Unfortunately for the squad, the issue was with the plane's air conditioning system, and the heat rose in the plane. So much so that the traveling players from Monaco were forced to take off their clothes to cool down. Footage recorded by defender Jordan Teze on board showed him and his teammates stripped to their underwear. Sweat pouring before they were eventually able to exit the plane on the runway, get some fresh air. You had Monaco stars basically half-dressed on the tarmac because their plane's air conditioning didn't work and the heat did. Manager Adi Hutter explained the why a little later on. He goes, for technical reasons, it was impossible to travel as everyone's safety was not guaranteed. That's why we decided in agreement with the CEO, Thiago Scudo, to postpone our trip. Hutter also revealed Wednesday Monaco would be traveling to Bruges Thursday morning. Instead, they only have a few hours after landing before they kick off in the Belgian capital. And so Hutter said, I don't know if the setback will have an impact, as we're professionals and have immediately changed our schedule. Best possible solution, especially since we already did so for the match in Auxerre on Saturday, traveling the same day. So, yeah, they take on Bruges as one of the two 12:45s. Make sure that if you are chartering a plane, that the air conditioning works. Nate the Great, let's see, Catalucci. Nate the Great left West Ham. Let's see, Nate the Great left West Ham just because I think he was tired of Rupert and all of Rupert's yelling. And that was when he went to go hang out at his girlfriend's restaurant and just kind of do stuff there. I think he just gotten frustrated with all of the duplicitous nature of Rupert Mannion. I think that was why Nate the Great left. So that was intriguing as well. But I think, yeah, I wonder what Nate the Great's win percentage is for his time at West Ham. This was another interesting element. Lamine Yamal not playing against Newcastle, missed the Champions. He's going to miss the Champions League match. He was not listed in the roster. Did not make the Tyneside roster to the Tyneside. Hansi Flick made the decision to leave him at home before they flew to Newcastle. Boost for Eddie Howe, who's without Vissa and Ramsey. Yamal's going to have to watch his teammates. Not selected because of pain in the middle of his person. Let's put it that way. Hansi Flick revealed at the weekend ahead of Barca's 6-0 win over Valencia wasn't happy with how many minutes he played for Spain. Yamal had 79 minutes against Bulgaria, 73 in a match against Turkey during the international window. La Roja won by 9 goals total. Yamal had 3 assists, but due to the pain in the middle of his person, attached to a bone. He barely trained. Flick was left questioning the decision. Hansi Flick said Lamine will not be available. It's a pity. Played with the national team despite pain. He had problems. Didn't even train between matches. That's not really taking care of players, is it? It is not. Spain, they have the best team in the world, best players in the world in every position, unbelievably good. So maybe they also want to take care of their players, our young players, but it's like they're doing this to them. This is what I can say, and I'm really sad about it. 3 goals, 2 assists for Lamine Yamal in La Liga matches this year, but Hansi Flick is not happy at Lamine Yamal having to play and or train with pain, and so now Hansi Flick is not. So Hansi Flick has Lamine Yamal not available, pulled him and left him at home for the matchup against Newcastle coming up this afternoon at 3:00. So that was that's another thing. So yeah, keep an eye on Lamine Yamal, and then also remember yesterday you had VAR that did not intervene in a Liverpool Atleti moment. Liverpool loses the 2-goal lead. Andy Robertson, Mo Salah. Marcus Llorente pokes the ball in. Replays appeared to show Griezmann standing in an offside position beforehand. It was in the eye line of keeper Alisson as the shot was taken. So if you're going to look at something like that, is it obstruction from Alisson from doing his duties? And obviously, this is from TalkSport, so they're kind of in a leaning mode when it comes to their particular point of view. But remember, we've had this in MLS before, where if you're in sight lines or anything like that, and you're causing a keeper to flinch or not be capable of his normal duties, then you end up with something that happens there. And everyone in Europe apparently was incredulous that VAR. Griezmann's left shoulder, and then it goes past goes past the left shoulder, past Alisson and in. So I mean, it is a judgment call. VAR having a mixed half. Griezmann has to be interfering. That's what folks were saying, is that Griezmann, who was standing in a straight line in front of Alisson, about 4 yards away from him, as the ball is being sent in around defense. Alisson looks like he's staring at the ball in the still that they have. Obviously, the video from other parts of the planet you can't play here in the U.S. But it is a judgment call. Man in the middle staring right at it. And Griezmann was not judged to be impeding Alisson from his daily duties. So you got that as probably one of the points from yesterday to talk about today. All right, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before our buddy Niko Moreno joins us to break down everything in Major League Soccer. No, David, I was not referring to Sam Malone's sportscasting rap, although that was very, very painful. Thursday, you got college soccer, and we'll get into that in a second. Libertadores, LDU Quito, and Sao Paulo is at 6. Bien en Español, simulcasting that. We mentioned Fanatis. CBS Sports Network is Copenhagen and Bayer Leverkusen at 12:45. Eintracht Frankfurt, Galatasaray at 3. FS2, Canadian Premier League at 7. We mentioned Bien en Español, Libertadores simulcast at 6. Tuda NA and Unimas, both simulcasting Copenhagen, Leverkusen, Newcastle, Barcelona. Saudi Pro League on Fox Soccer Plus. It's at 2 o'clock. If you want to go watch, go watch. MLSNextPro.com, NYC FC2 and Revs 2 at 7:30. Paramount Plus has all 6 Champions League matches. NWSL, Angel City and Washington at 10:30. Deportes has the W Champions Cup at 9, America and Pachuca. So does ESPN Plus. So does Paramount Plus with the NWSL. Gainbridge Super League tonight is DC and Brooklyn at 7 o'clock. So quickly, Libertadores Sudamericana. We'll get into that before Niko joins us. And if your favorite college soccer team is playing, then by all means, go and watch them and show the support for them as best you can. So South America, Libertadores, you have Palmeiras over River Plate. They were up 2-0 at the break. They won 2-1 yesterday as an underdog at a plus 244. Today, LDU Quito, even money at a plus 100. Flamengo is a huge favorite at home against Estudiantes. They are at a minus 294, and that is it for this week involving Libertadores. Palmeiras and River, by the way, is in 6 days' time. So next Wednesday night, Palmeiras, River Plate at Palmeiras, an early minus 132. Then looking at Sudamericana, handful of matches there as well. Today, Alianza Lima. I know that our buddy Nino Torres will be watching that one. They are favored at home against Universidad de Chile at a plus 135. Universidad de Chile is a plus 227. That one is at 8:30. Last night, Once Caldas with a bit of a surprise win at a plus 419, knocking off Independiente del Valle 2-0. Bolivar and Atletico Mineiro, they had a 2-2 draw, and that was at a plus 239. Bolivar was a decided favorite at a minus 132. Atletico Mineiro was a plus 405. And so that was this week. And remember, Lanús with the late goal from Marcelino Moreno in like the 89th minute knocked off Fluminense in the first leg of their two-leg playoff. So Lanús gets the win at home at a plus 143. So Lanús wins. Bolivar, Atletico Mineiro draw. Once Caldas, the big upset last night against Independiente del Valle. And that gets us to today. And then that holds us off until next week when you have your reverse fixtures. And it starts off on the 23rd, which would be Tuesday. Fluminense and Lanús at Fluminense. Fluminense big favorite, so keep an eye on goal difference when it comes to those matchups. So a lot of stuff going on in and around the world of soccer. Let me just see what there's anything going on today. Men's side, all of these are on the plus. Georgia Southern and Presbyterians at 7 o'clock. You've got a lot of stuff in the Midwest. Mercer's playing Air Force at 9. That is also on the plus. Then you have some Big West activity, 3 matches at 10 o'clock. Women's game, good Lord, the number of matches that are there, and it's going to be on a bunch of different platforms. So look at your favorite team social media account. Could be on ESPN Plus, could be on ACC Extra, could be on a bunch of different places, could be on B1G Plus, could be on the B1G, could be on ESPN or the SEC Network. ACC Network, Stanford and Clemson's at 6. Arkansas and Florida's on the SEC Network at 6. You've got a lot of other activity early, and it varies. It is the American. It is the A10. It is SoCon. It is Missouri Valley. It is B1G. It is Big West or WAC and UAC. You've got 7 o'clock, BU and Harvard. So you got a bit of Beanpot at 7 o'clock with those two. West Virginia Marshall is on at 7 o'clock on the plus. North Carolina Virginia Tech is on ACC Extra. Alabama A&M West Georgia is at 7 o'clock. That one is on ESPN Plus. You've got Big East. You've got a lot of Conference USA once again on the night side. It is Big East still. It is A10. It is Missouri Valley. It is SoCon. ACC Extra at 7. Duke and Virginia on the women's side. Notre Dame and NC State is at 7 o'clock. B1G Plus has a lot of matches at 7. Maryland, Indiana, Michigan, USC, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Iowa. Samford and Belmont in the SoCon at 7:30. Ohio Valley is in at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, South Carolina and Alabama is on the SEC Network. You've also got, once again, more Ohio Valley, more HBCU. Prairie View plays at 8 against Houston Christian. You have Oklahoma State, so you've got Big 12 kicking off at 8 o'clock. You have Alcorn and Tarleton at 8. You've got a lot of stuff in the Big West kicking off at 9 o'clock and then 10 o'clock as well. Late one is 10:30 UC Riverside and Cal Baptist. So it is ESPN Plus, B1G Plus, ESPN, B1G, SEC Network, ACC Network, ACC Extra, and it all starts today at 12 noon with South Florida and Temple on the women's side. And you've got 11 matches on the men's side starting at 4 o'clock with Caldwell, who I don't know, and Quinnipiac at 4 o'clock. So that's your matchups there in the college game. Once again, remember tomorrow. Evan Weston joining us at 10 o'clock. We're tracking down another couple of interviews, especially for Oppo Research. We'll see if that happens, and we'll play that one on the network for you. And we'll also catch up with the twos coming up after we're off the air in a half an hour. and we'll catch up with them and we'll find out what's on the mind of Jose Silva and Ronan Wynn as they get ready for Atlanta United 2 and Crown Legacy. The game will be on the network. Because of the early start for Atlanta United and San Diego FC, we don't know the length of the post-game show. The full-time report on 92.9 The Game, we don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know because college football is coming on after Atlanta United and San Diego FC. So we don't know how long the post-game show is going to be. Then 7:03 kick, soccerdownhere.net on our Mixlr channel at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. You can catch Atlanta United 2 and Crown Legacy. Once again, because of the timing of the ending of the first team game at 92.9 The Game and Odyssey app, we don't know when we would be starting on the network for our pregame show, or if we're just going to come up a little before 7 o'clock, give you starting lineups, and then we're off and running. So keep an eye out. Set your notifications for Atlanta United, 92.9 The Game Odyssey app, and us with the twos with the big matchup at Crown Legacy. So set your notifications, and however you access us when you do, then you can catch up with us going from first team to second team across the board, and you can find out what's going on all there. All right, so let me say hi to everybody. David, Lokeville, Alex. David got his Black Friday USWNT tickets. It'll make him queasy to be in the purple park, but yes, fight through it. Focus on the red, white, and blue. Don't focus on the purple. Morning four card says West Ham's going down. Catalucci is sitting there going, great guy. But yes, Slaven Bilic had Paye and Jared Noble back then. Yeah, the West Ham way locked down. Absolutely true. Morning, David. Morning, Catalucci. And yeah, David, I thought the pain in the middle of his body was John referencing the Sam Malone sportscasting rap. Close, but not quite. Yeah, Lamine Yamal has a bone bruise, I want to say, in the middle of his person. And for me to go any further, I'm just going to say go ahead and do the research on your own. Let's just say it's in a very middle of the person place that he has this bone bruise. So keep an eye on that. Lamine Yamal not playing, not on the travel roster, heading to Newcastle for the matchup today against the Geordies coming up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Morning, Abby. Good to see all of y'all as well. So that is no, bone bruises are not fun, and especially in the middle of your person. So that was that's why Lamine Yamal is hanging back, and then Slaven Bilic. I mean, not Slaven Bilic. Made a point to sit there and look at all the things and go, well, let's see. So hang on. So it's my fault. So hang on. Oh, hang on a minute. This is what happens when you don't send mail and things like that. So, all right. So, there we go. So there we go. All right. So that is there. So Niko should be joining us in a second because I forgot to email him the link of the show. So there you go. John's an idiot. What else is new? So it's all over the place this morning. Yikes. Trying to get a whole bunch of things done, and you sit there and you think you got it all covered, but then you're sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken that you think you have everything squared away, and you don't. I know. What a shock. So Slaven Bilic, Diego Simeone, you've got Champions League. You've got all the things. With Open Cup, we know who's going there, and it's we got matchups coming up this weekend in Major League Soccer. And so when Niko joins us, we'll roll through everything. We'll talk about Seattle, talk about the midweek, and get you ready for Cliffhanger, and get you ready for the week in Major League Soccer. So, so we got some games to kind of think about, and obviously we'll look at Atlanta and San Diego tomorrow. We'll get a quick piece on that. And give you a quick previews across the board on that one. Like I said, Evan Weston, who's calling the match for Apple TV and MLS, he's going to be on with us in the morning at 10 o'clock. So you've got a handful of matches in NYC and Charlotte. Once again, the Wonder Twins calling that one, KCD and Jess, and that's a noon kick. That is a noon kick in the tri-state. Philly and New England. What does New England look like now that they've gotten rid of Caleb Porter? Atlanta and San Diego, Atlanta slight favorite. And we got a bunch of different matchups here. So now that I finally have sent email links and things, time for me to figure out, why it is after all this time I still don't send all the frickin' emails that I'm supposed to send on a daily basis. John's a genius. What else is new? And so as Niko's getting everything set up and squared away, let's go to Seattle. Why don't we go to Seattle and find out what's going on with him and Seattle and Messi and friends and all the midweek stuff. And here we go. How are you, my brother? Oh, lighting. Look at you.
Oh, we finally hooked it up. What's up, John? How's it going?
Lighting. Look at that, man. So that's pretty solid. So how does it feel getting used to all that? Not wearing a lid covering the lettuce. You got lights on, man.
Yeah, man. Well, like I said, sometimes you gotta sharpen up the image. No, sometimes like I said, I pay for this haircut, man. I gotta try to use it a little more, man. I be wearing too many lids sometimes, but I'll probably give me about another week and then I'll be back to the leads. But yeah, man, exciting time here at the PNW, regardless of a couple of frustrating results, I guess you could call it. So yeah, man, let's get to it. This is my second cup of coffee. Let's do it.
You were not happy at the performance that Seattle had with Messi and friends in the midweek. There were a couple of adjectives that you used that were kind of choice. I mean, we knew they were going to be rotated. We kind of had the feeling that the folks that played the previous Saturday were going to be playing a full 90 and they weren't going to be playing a whole lot if they were going to be tapped on the shoulder to go play in Fort Lauderdale at the Erector set. But you were not happy with the performance in the midweek, were you?
We were not, but it all stems from that lackluster ending there at a home game against an LA Galaxy that had a whole bunch of missing pieces, and the Sounders have a 2-0 lead. And they give it up, and you drop points at home. And I think that's where it all starts. Because quite frankly, I think that particular score was even more frustrating and surprising than a short rest, travel across the country type of situation where you had against Inter Miami, right? So for me, the mental lapses and defensive woes that you had against the LA Galaxy in a game that you controlled the majority of, your offensive movements were there. Ferreira gets a goal. The team looked solid, but at the same time, it seemed like on that Saturday, the team was maybe a little bit overconfident. There were a lot of missed opportunities that usually this team doesn't miss. There were a lot of chances that guys are probably taken because they feel like, we'll get another one, right? We're really generating a lot of offense, so maybe I'll try this one. If it doesn't go, then we'll get another one, and that just didn't quite happen, right? So that 2-2 draw, and you saw it in Brian Smetzer's demeanor after that game. I mean, that he was upset. He was not a happy guy when you give up 2 set-piece goals, basically, one of a free kick, one of a throw-in. You're just poorly set up, right? 87th minute at home, and there's 4 or 5 guys on the wrong side of the ball, not, defending. So that's where it all starts. And then I think that kind of forced Brian to play Christian Roldan again, who looked exhausted. I mean, that's probably one of the worst Christian Roldan games I've seen at Fort Lauderdale against Inter Miami. I mean, it was really a bad performance, right? I mean, it was giveaway after giveaway. The team in the entirety looked very flat. They were not staggered correctly. They were not spaced correctly. Their transition moments were nowhere to be found. Even when they picked up the ball in the right places, there were no runs being made. There was a lot of miscommunication. The team just looked disjointed. So I think it was just a tough couple of games for the Sounders. And a couple of players used the word reset, right? That maybe we just need this as a reset. And this 3-1 scoreline probably does that. But yeah, a lot of bad performances. I think that the only saving grace in the Inter Miami game was Obed Vargas. Not just the goal, but his overall play was outstanding. Maybe perhaps getting Jordan Morris back. He gets the assist in that open goal. Albert Rusnak, I thought, was pretty good coming in off the bench. So there were a couple of good things, but mainly just a terrible performance from Seattle against Inter Miami.
And you get to turn around and you get to not do anything. So after the match in the midweek, did they stay on the road or did they come back to the Providence and Swedish Car Wash Delicatessen and Hairstylist Emporium before they go down to Austin this weekend?
No, they stayed an extra day and came back. They're already back. They have a couple of days off. They'll be back at Providence in Swedish on Friday. That's when we'll get a chance to talk to the team, and then they'll travel. And that's a big game. It's even bigger now, right? Because the way the standings are looking, and LAFC just jumped over you because you dropped, two big results. So now this Austin game is do or die, and they have to get out there and just change the chip. Understand that, yes, they're a good team, but you still have to be extremely clinical. Guys are going to go for you, right? Every team's going to shoot to knock you down because you're in a good run of play. So Brian Smetzer, after the Inter Miami game, did seem to be more calm. I think this Tuesday game was always going to be difficult, so maybe he didn't punt it, right? Because that's not what Brian does, but I think he thought that could be an adverse result. So now it's all about just getting the team ready to go to Austin. You're getting some guys back. How do you rotate that particularly is going to be interesting. Pedro de la Vega is the one that will be monitoring closely. He traveled, he was with the team, but didn't dress up. We've talked about the tendonitis that, it's a bit of a pain management situation. I'm told that there's really nothing to be worried about just yet, but we'll see what Brian says tomorrow.
And what does your gut tell you? How much rotation are you thinking? What is your starting 11 like in your mind off the top of your head?
They go heavy. They're going to go with their best possible lineup. Christian Roldan is going to be dying at the chance to just turn the page from that awful performance. Obed Vargas is in great run form. I think that you see your starting 11, including Albert Rusnak. I don't think Jordan Morris will start this game just yet, but I think you'll have your best 11 with Musovski up top, Albert in the middle, Ferreira on the right, Pedro on the left, if health allows it, of course.
It appears that overnight, it's probably one of the most unsurprising surprises is closer to turning into reality. Michelle Kaufman et al. That's fancy Latin for "and others." Messi and friends agree on terms to a new multi-year contract. Quoting Michelle, this was at like 2:00 this morning Eastern time. So as you were heading to bed, Lionel Messi will return to Inter Miami next season, finish his illustrious career in a pink number 10 uniform after lengthy negotiations that dragged on for the past several months. 38-year-old legend and Inter Miami have agreed to terms on a new multi-year contract, according to a source with knowledge of the deal. It will be his final contract. Announcement expected in the next 10 days. So no real surprise, but Messi is going to finish his career wearing pink, ushering in the new stadium at Freedom Park. No real shock in all of this. I think it's so if it's a 2-year deal, he's playing till he's 40, gets into the new stadium, gets past the cup that the entire world will be chasing in 2026. So you'll have those two markers, and he gets to finish his career professionally in South Florida.
Yeah, that is maybe not surprising, but I had a couple of doubts. Things were not, or they are not necessarily going the way Messi's used to, just dominating leagues, right? His friends, will they stay? Will they go? Who is it going to be there? I think Rodrigo de Paul is a huge reason why he's going to stay. Clearly, that's why they made that move. It's just. Yes, he's a good player, but mainly it's let's keep the boss happy. And I was talking to another front office person in this league, and it was something like, it's a situation where Mascherano is the head coach, but who's really running that team, right? It's messy, right? So it's going to be interesting the way it plays out, specifically if results continue to not go their way. Clearly, that win yesterday puts them at the top of the race for the Shield, and they're going to be a team that is definitely a contender to get that specific trophy. I'm still not a believer. I am not a believer in this Miami team in the playoffs. I think they're way too gappy. I think they're fluky. I feel like they're too depending on a couple of players. I still don't see a real identity on things that they do extremely well. So, yeah, good for Messi, good for Inter Miami. I still think that Messi is good for the league in general. And we'll see what happens when he's 40.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, dude's 40, but I think he ages a little differently than the rest of us at 40. So it's once again, figured it was going to happen, figured that the league was going to sit there and try and find a way to make it happen. When the deal does come out, I will be interested to see how different it is, what the pieces of the action are when it comes to all of the different platforms. He made $60 million. I think that was the quoted number in salary plus endorsements this season. I think it's 22 and 38 or whatever the balance is. So I want to see what the new numbers are in these last 2 years. And then and I'm going to say this now. I want to see how Messi and friends respond when there is no more Lionel Messi. Who's the next big name they bring in? Do they continue to go this way? Who's the next big star that they try to bend the will of to bring them to South Florida? That to me is the next thing. How do you keep up this momentum if, when Messi is 40 and he retires, what the deal is like at the end of the 28 season? So that to me is going to be the biggest question going forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're almost set themselves up in a situation where they have to go out there and get somebody else. It said Mbappe. It said, who really is out there. Even those guys like Haaland and all these guys. I'm just throwing names out here. Salah. They still don't have that Messi factor, right? I mean, I don't think that there's a lot of players in history that have that sort of pool. That there's just those generational players that don't come always. So yeah, it'll be interesting how they figure that out, how the fan base responds, because I still feel like it's a very generic fan base, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out once Messi's out of there.
Yep. Let's get into cliffhanger and find out what's going on in your mind with the matchups this weekend that are of interest. We'll go ahead and start with the noon match. NYC and Charlotte. Because of the chaos going on in the East, NYC wins in the midweek. Big win over Columbus. NYC is now in the chaos in the East where they are right now 5th, and they are breathing right down everybody's neck in that chase group. They've got a match in hand. They take on Charlotte. Charlotte's at 53 points. They've played 30. NYC has been on a hot streak of late, but they're only 500 on the season on the road. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously there's Charlotte at home and Charlotte away from home. And although I do like what Bronica's doing, the young striker has been a revelation, obviously. I like this version of Saha, and what Dean Smith is doing is very interesting. I liked it. I called it against Inter Miami. I thought that they were going to give them the business. They did. But New York City, man, there's something about him, right? I mean, Niko, that goal he puts yesterday, I mean, everything about this team in moments is very interesting, right? Julian Fernandez and, Moxie, and, they're a team that if he goes to a round for round, shot for shot, they're willing to go out there and just exchange with you in the middle of the ring. That's not Charlotte's way of playing, so I think it's going to be a good contrast. But in New York City, I like New York City in this one. Charlotte obviously is, if they win this game, if they were to win it, they would break the Sounders' all-time winning streak, right? They're at 9. They would go to 10. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it in New York City. So I like New York City, a team that against Columbus, man, they shined. They really did. And now that's, I think, more of an indictment on Columbus right now that they have really struggled defensively, like really struggled defensively. So yeah, I do like New York City in this one.
New England disposed of Caleb Porter, and so Caleb didn't last 2 seasons, and now you've got a handful of matches. And the reason I just bring this one up because they're going to Philly. Nothing like the first one for an interim coach to go to Philadelphia to take on the Union. But with what's going on in New England, they don't give Caleb Porter 2 full seasons, handful of matches to go. They're just like, yeah, okay, we're done. You can go on your merry way. And Cardinalfo, he's going to be looking for a replacement, what have you. What did you think about the Caleb Porter dismissal being now and not giving him a runway to the end of the year? What was your vibe on that?
I wasn't surprised, but I think it's bad timing for New England. If they were not sure, they could have done this a while back to just try to bring in a guy or start the interview process early, because the biggest problem that you have now was New England is that you allowed Caleb Porter to bring a whole bunch of guys, right? That you signed, that they're going to be on contract moving forward. So now you got to find somebody that's going to be willing to work with these guys, you know. And you look at the pool, you know, is it Peter Vermees? I don't think it would be a guy like Curtin, but it would be maybe Gio Savarese, right? So the reality is that whoever comes in needs to be a guy that's going to have a long-term impact in New England. And I don't know if the Crafts are, you know, going to go out there and get a European guy. That doesn't seem like what New England does. I would think they'll bring an MLS guy, but I just thought the timing was off. And I think that the biggest issue that they're going to have is the current roster and the ongoing contracts that are going to keep a lot of those guys there. What happened with Carlos Gil? You know, do you try to ship him? Do you try to get something for him? I mean, you know, there's so many question marks, but in terms of Caleb Porter, I mean, I think that the juice is almost out of that lemon. You know, that's a lot of consecutive bad seasons for him. You know, since 2020 hasn't really won anything. He's a very particular guy with an acquired taste, is what I've heard of people working with him. So yeah, it's just odd timing. It's bad for Caleb. I don't know where he's gonna go next, but it's definitely bad for New England to just start that process now and moving forward is going to be difficult, I think.
Purple team hosting Nashville at 7:30 in Central Florida in the land of the mouse. And so Nashville's coming off of the high of going into an Open Cup final in front of about 15 people at Geoda's. And well, I mean, hey, tight shots, and nothing but tight shots. You didn't see the upper deck at Geoda's, and you barely saw the end zones. They get to travel to Q2 now for a final, but they have to turn around, go down to Central Florida, take on the Purple team. Purple team is a favorite, but on the plus side at a plus 112, going up against Nashville, who's a plus 211.
What's the draw? And as you get that for me, man, it was a hat trick for
Sam Surridge, yeah.
Yeah, he's really feeling himself. Sam Surridge is a guy that is giving this team a lot of offensive power, but they're still a very inconsistent team for me. You don't know what Nashville you're going to get sometimes, and that is a bad thing against Orlando. However, I do think this is going to be one that is going to have at least 4 goals, and it's probably going to be a tie. I see that more as a 2-2 draw in this one, but it's going to be a fun game.
Plus 266 in the composite for the draw.
Oh, yeah. I like that draw. I think that Nashville clearly they're going to be more than likely going to rotate some pieces, maybe not all, because I think that they see themselves with the need to win some games. Knowing the way BJ handles that team, I would say he probably runs it back pretty consistently. So yeah, maybe a lot less intense, maybe with same possession. But yeah, this is going to be a game that I would see very easily as a draw.
Last one that I wanted to focus on with you, late night last night. Yeonmin Son, as I told folks in hour number 1, I said if you had him for fantasy and if you captained him, I think you did pretty well. You end up with a hattie. You end up with a goal in the 3rd minute. LAFC's off and running, up 2-0, 3-1. They go on to win 4-1. And RSL is going to be without one of their starting forwards for the return fixture on the weekend in Los Angeles. No shock, but LAFC is a minus 227 hosting RSL on the return side at a plus 523.
Yeah, man. Look, LAFC, as I had basically told people, they were going to be a problem right around this time. And Son looked great last night. I mean, he was all over. He had a couple of near chances. He put one on the post. This team playing against the run of play with two bullets up top, like Buanga and Song, man, those guys, they play well with each other. You saw basically Buanga gifted that hat trick to Son. He could have shot it, could have took it himself, but he knows what he has to do with a guy like Son. Passes that ball. I like the midfield. Segura was interesting at midfield. He's played there before, but I thought he gave him a little bit of what Igor de Jesus gave this team. Good balance. Cherundolo smiling. I mean, they are starting to really feel it. You bring in a guy like Martinez off the bench. I mean, everything just kind of starting to fit. Tillman looks really, really good. He's a guy that's just doing that duality play. So yeah, man, I think that LAFC is going to be a real problem. Love what I saw. Buanga, 94th goal, becomes the all-time leading scorer for this team in all competitions. It's just all good things there for LAFC. So I think that in this one, they'll definitely repeat. They'll get a win. I wouldn't touch it because it's not worth your money. But I really do think that LAFC is going to put another display this weekend.
3.5 is a plus 148. 4.5 is a plus 338.
Yeah, no, they know something we don't know. Don't go for that. Don't go for that. Don't go for that.
Oh, the back.
No, this one could be very easily just a lower scoring game. Yeah. No,
oh, wow. Yeah. The back end of the home and home on 3 days rest, and you're just kind of like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, they're trying to fiddle it in front of you, but don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what is the latest with Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart for the Sounder at Heart Delicatessen and Hardware Store?
We'll be at the facility tomorrow. We're going to record with Jeremiah, who's back from vacation. We're going to be all about where this team is at health-wise. We're going to try to figure out what's going on with Pedro, what the lineup's going to be for the Austin game. We're going to break down the Austin game, of course, see if there's anything that maybe comes up after, this bad performance. We'll see what the vibes are like. So go ahead and check that out there, Sounder at Heart Podcast Network, and what we learned this week with Jeremiah O'Shan on Friday. And then, of course, on Monday, we're going to have the kickoff with Labins Corches and Ari Lillenwall. And in Pulso Sports, man, anything that we get today will be at Pulso. Tomorrow will be on Pulso Sports. I'm hoping to get at least one player, maybe an Obit, maybe a Alex Roldan. So go ahead and wait for that. And then, of course, what we hear from Brian Smetzer will also be on Pulso Sports.
As always, my friend, great to see you. And maybe next week I'll actually remember to send you the link to the studio space.
No problem. I was freaking out. I was like, did I miss it? Did I not get it? No,
it's always the same spot each and every time. So if I ever forget, we're here. So just go find an old email. Link is there.
Oh yeah, I could use that. Oh, good. Well, there you go.
It's a locked-in studio space. So if I ever forget and I have a brain fart, just go ahead, find the old email, same link, dive in. We're all good. Love you very much, my friend, and we will see you next week.
You got it, boss.
There he goes. Salute. And he's going to go and find out what the latest is with Seattle as they get ready for the matchup in Austin. Okay. That is another go-round of SDH AM. And once again, tomorrow, remember, if our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring are not conquering the planet, then hopefully we can catch up with either Messer Parkhurst or Messer Garza. 10 o'clock is our natural MLS Apple TV block. Evan Weston, who's going to be calling Atlanta United in San Diego, is going to be our guest in the 10 o'clock hour. Once again, after I leave here, I'm going to go catch up with Atlanta United 2. And then from there, you'll have Jose Silva and Ronan Wynn, I believe. That will be played early tomorrow or somewhere in the show tomorrow if we have guests that we have to plug into places. And once again, we're efforting the one guest from San Diego for opposition research, and we'll get you ready for everything coming up on the weekend starting tomorrow, 9:05 Eastern time. So efforting guests, Atlanta United 2, Evan Weston, 10 o'clock tomorrow. That'll you'll start your weekend. We'll talk about Atlanta, San Diego in depth with Evan, and hopefully some opposition research from our friends out in San Diego. So another go round of SDH AM. Back in almost 22 hours, actually almost 22 hours. We're right there. And so thanks again for everything today. Don't forget, you've got Champions League today. You've got all the things that are going on in college. A lot of news and stuff going on around thanks to Kacey White and thanks to Niko Moreno. And obviously we send our love to our buddy Nino Torres and hope that he can be with us in short order. But obviously family is the priority. So for everybody here at SDH, it's the end of another 2 hours of SDH AM and Thursday Thoughts. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Mucha Plati. I'll play it safe. Since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning.